Hi everyone! In this video we're going to be covering a very easy recipe for making pumpkin protein muffins. It uses the muffin method and it's a great on-the-go breakfast. So our ingredients are going to be pumpkin puree, or you can use any fruit that you prefer, an egg, honey, oil, oat flour, which you're going to use in place of regular flour, which makes this recipe naturally gluten-free, protein powder, you can use any protein powder of your choice, baking powder, baking soda, cinnamon, and ground ginger. Also, if you're interested in making your own oat flour due to the cost of oat flour, please check out our protein bite recipe linked here. This recipe is going to use the muffin method, so we're going to start out with a wet bowl and a dry bowl, and you'll see both of these here. So to begin with, you're going to put your oat flour, your protein powder, baking soda, and spices in a bowl. So we're using an unflavored and unsweetened version of the protein powder, so you might want to add a little bit of extra sweetener to this if you're using that, but you don't have to if you don't prefer things as sweet. You're going to whisk your dry ingredients together very well, and this is going to help incorporate things before you start, because once you add your wet ingredients in, it's a little bit harder to mix. If you were doing a recipe that had gluten in it, then you wouldn't want to mix things for too long, but because we're using the oats, that's not a consideration in this case. Then you're going to put your pumpkin or banana, or whatever fruit you're using, your oil, honey, and egg into another bowl and mix that up as well. A plunger measuring cup works really well for honey or for any sticky ingredients, things like molasses or syrups of any kind, just because you don't have to end up scraping it out of whatever measuring spoon you're using. And we're cracking in our egg on a flat surface and mix those ingredients together very well. After that, you're just going to combine your wet and dry ingredients. I usually put my wet ingredients on top of my dry ingredients, but it just kind of depends on what size bowls you have. Due to the fact that the oats don't have gluten in it, you're not really worried as much about over mixing with this as you would normally be if you were using regular flour. A Danish whisk works really well for mixing this. This is a thicker dough than a typical muffin batter. And a regular whisk, it would get very stuck in there, and so I prefer a Danish whisk. If you don't have a Danish whisk, a wooden spoon will work great. Once that's mixed well, you're going to add in some chocolate chips and mix that until it's well incorporated. As you can tell, this is a thicker batter compared to most muffin batters, but it will work just fine. Then we're using a scoop to scoop that into a lined muffin pan, and that's going to ensure even sizing, and that will ensure even baking because each of the muffins is going to be about the same size. You may need to press the batter down into the pan a little bit just because it is a thicker batter. Then you're going to bake these at 350 degrees for 15 to 18 minutes. And the way that you know that these are done is that when you press it with your finger, the muffin is going to spring back a little bit. A lot of people use the toothpick test, and that's going to make them be overdone. The nutrition of each of these muffins, if you're making 12, is going to be 11 grams of protein, 141 calories, 2 grams of fiber, and 5 grams of fat. And so that's a lot more protein than a traditional muffin would have, and so it ends up being a very nutritious breakfast. You want to store these in an airtight container, and they also freeze very well as well, and you can microwave them for about 30 seconds to get them thawed out. Thank you so much for watching Mixing with Merks. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.